Hey, it's another Sunday afternoon and I have a great book review for you, and this is particularly going to be up your alley if you are not very good at finishing what you start, if you get distracted before you've even begun, and if you lose motivation for something that you thought initially was really special and now just feels like a burden. That's what we're going to discuss in today's book review, which is about finish what you start, people. So I have to say that I listened to the audiobook version of this, and this is from Peter Hollins, The Art of Following Through, Taking Action, Executing, and Self-Discipline. And I was listening while I was out running. It's a pretty short book. It is around 3 hours, and if you have that on 1.5 times speed on Audible, well, I basically got through it in a run, and I really wish that I'd had the physical copy because I was in my brain highlighting so many fantastic things that he said. And it's not rocket science. Now, Peter has just himself been very curious all his life about how he can be more productive, about why he had these great projects in his garage that he just never finished. And so he started looking deeply into people who do finish what they start and the two main reasons why most of us don't. Basically, Peter realizes that there are powerful reasons why most of us don't finish what we start, and they can generally be split into two camps. One is inhibiting tactics, and two is psychological roadblocks. So what's the example of an inhibiting tactic? Well, it might be setting a really poor goal that you're actually just not that excited about. It's also related to procrastination, and I did a great podcast on that recently, and the reason why we procrastinate and how to use it to your advantage, so I'll link to that below in this video. The third is around indulging in temptations and distractions, and in my previous book interview, which you should be able to find here on deep work, that was one of the key reasons to do deep work, was to eliminate those distractions so you can get more done. And the fourth reason in the inhibiting tactics that we so brilliantly do as humans by self-sabotaging ourselves is poor time management. One of my favorite topics. So now we're going to dive into the second camp, which is these psychological roadblocks. Now these are typically around you call yourself lazy or you're not self-disciplined enough, which may well be true, but there's usually a reason, and it's usually linked to the inhibiting tactics that I just covered. Another big reason why we don't finish what we start is fear of judgment, criticism, or failure, which is probably the biggest reason for myself when I think back on projects that I didn't start. It's usually that, because it just became so overwhelmingly big in my mind that I didn't think I could even get started on it, let alone finish. Like I kind of talked myself out of this big ass project that excited me so much and then became overwhelmingly scary. Isn't it crazy how we do that to ourselves? Anyway, the third is perfectionism, and that is actually usually out of insecurity. Isn't that interesting? And the fourth one is actually lack of self-awareness. We just simply don't know how we're spending our time, why we're not following through with something. We don't ever think about it. We just kind of let it happen, and we're like, oh, there's another thing I didn't finish, rather than questioning, wait a minute, why do I keep putting this project off? Or why am I constantly pushing this one to the side and now it's 3 years later and I still haven't done the damn thing? So what I love about his book is he talks you through those things and makes you realize that you are just human at the end of the day, and everybody suffers from these setbacks and challenges, and then he takes you on the next journey, which is how to move past them and finish what you freaking started. So I know you're going to love this book. I highly recommend the audio version. It is narrated by the author, so I've popped that Audible link below, but I also think that having a paperback version of this book would be amazing, just to be able to quick reference, highlight like crazy, and write up your own summary of, which I really firmly believe and recommend. You learn by doing and fully understanding a concept. So if you can write the things that he talks about in your own words, you're far more likely to actually put them into action. That's just a little tip on how to read a book well, and I'll cover off on that in a future vlog. So then the second chapter, and it is a short book as I mentioned, is about staying hungry. Now, I always thought that I was pretty normal in the amount of stuff that I could do and achieve, and when I set my mind to doing something, I just made it happen. Turns out I'm not normal, and I'm very lucky to have a good level of internal self-motivation and drive to make things happen. Part of that is driven hugely by integrity. I'm very much a person of my word, and if I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. Plus, I love putting things out there publicly to be held accountable, and that is one of the techniques that Peter actually mentions. So I'm going to come back to these in 1 minute. But the other reason why I think I'm so internally motivated to do things is I simply think life is short and there's a lot that I want to achieve in the time that I'm here on earth, and I just value time like crazy. Like, it's very precious to me that I spend it in a great way. And the best way for me is to turn up and to serve you, to leave your lives just a little bit better in anything that I share or teach. If it can help you, then I feel like I've turned up in this world and done just a little bit of good. So if that feels the case for you and you've enjoyed my teachings, my work, my books, my content, my blogs, my podcasts over the years, please give me a little like below, and for sure subscribe to my channel, especially if you want to get weekly book reviews and recommendations every single Sunday. All right, back to how you can stay highly motivated, especially if you think you lack discipline, or you find yourself quite a lazy person, or you're a big dreamer and a big talker, but not necessarily somebody who follows through. So there are a couple of ways. There is accountability. Surprise, surprise. First thing is to get an accountability partner. This could be a friend, a family member, a peer, or even a stranger who you just know kicks ass, and they will kick your ass if you don't do the thing that you said you'll do. It is massively useful to have an accountability partner because you're not just beholden to yourself. You can't shrink away from something. Somebody else is expecting that you're going to be true to your word, turn up and do the thing that you said, and they're there to support you, hold you accountable, and kick your ass when you need it. Just like a personal trainer, really. Second is an accountability group. So this is why I've run masterminds over the years, been part of masterminds, because the minute you have a group of 4 to 6 people or more who are all saying, hey Natalie, you know that thing you said you were going to do? It's due in 2 days. Where's it at, girl? Where is it at? You are beholden to even more people than just yourself and your accountability partner. That means you're going to turn up, be way more motivated, even if it's purely just because there's a deadline coming and they are counting on you to hit it. It works wonders. The third way in which Peter suggests you do it is to put some money on the line. Yep, back yourself. So one way you can do it is you can put $1,000 into a friend's bank account and say, if I don't write these book chapters in 3 months' time and hit this date, then you can put that $1,000 towards a charity of your calling. For example, I've seen people do wages and bets, put more money on the line. If it means more to you, we are really motivated by money, and we're actually more motivated by losing it than winning it, would you believe? So that's why it works really well to put money on the line for something that's important to you that you keep putting off, but you really want to get done. And the fourth one you might quite like is self-bribery. So that means if you hit your goal and you finish what you start, you will reward yourself. For some people, this may be, a wardrobe makeover, or perhaps a facial or a massage. It could be a holiday. You might buy yourself a new car. You might finally invest in that property that you want. You may just take your friends off on a sailing trip around the Mediterranean. Whatever it is, the reward needs to acknowledge the hard work that you're going to do to get this thing done. And you've got to make it fun and enticing and exciting. And it's got to be awesome. Or it could just be something you've always wanted. And then what I really like is that Peter comes on to internal motivators. So those one are external motivators, but internally, how do you shift yourself to make this important? How do you tell yourself that finishing this thing is going to be worth the hard effort, the challenges, the obstacles, and as I've mentioned around Cal Newport's book, embracing some of that boredom and the tough times, just like when you're an athlete training for the Olympics, right? The Olympics is the defining moment, but we often don't see all the hard work and perseverance and resilience and all those early starts and late nights and full-on training that people did to get them to the podium at the Olympics. And that's kind of what finishing what you start is all about. I mean, it's not an Olympic journey. It may just be that you're trying to write a blog post, but the point is every single time you get better at finishing, it gets easier to start the next thing. And so internally, you've got to attach a level of meaning and importance to the thing that you want to do. That is how you will be intrinsically and internally motivated, is attach a vision to it. Ask yourself these questions. How will my life change or benefit if I finish this thing? How will my family or friends or partner or lover benefit if I finish this thing? What impact will I have on others by shipping this thing and putting it out into the world? And what positive emotions will I feel when I am done and dusted? So those are 4 beautiful questions that you can ask yourself, which will massively internally motivate you to really get this thing done. And if none of those questions excite you, then you're probably working on the wrong thing and you should drop it and focus on the next thing that you really, 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 really want to start and finish. So I highly recommend this book, Finish What You Start. I would love for you to pick up a copy. I've put the link below from Amazon and also for Audible. I would love for you to say in the comments whether you've read this book, what you learned from it if you did, and maybe one thing you've picked up from this video that has got you excited about reading this book. That's it for me. Tune in next Sunday. Make sure you subscribe if you want to get a fresh video the minute I release a book recommendation. And also feel free to share in the comments below a book that you would like me to read and review and recommend with a kind of summary of the key points in it so that you can learn and take away as much as you can in the time that we have together.